I think we kind of touched on the next one. It says education the need to teach observational skills and critical thinking as complementary rather than interchangeable. Damn, that's deep.
Right.
We said it, but I don't know if we said it like that.
Right. You definitely got to be real specific about the value of observational skills and what they are versus actual critical thinking, what criteria are being used. And it's certainly, anyway, it's helpful to break that down, and it's helpful just to say that really specifically that these are two different skill sets that have to be done together. And yeah, they have to be done together to have the...
Hold up. I can't even hear you. My bad, man. My earphones went up. All right, my bad.
There you go. You're back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's to me, like when it comes to the education piece, like you teach people the observational skills to say, you have to get good at recognizing what exists, how to describe what exists, and how to effectively just notice and pay attention to the right things that are relevant to this moment. That in itself is a skill set. Develop the ability to pay attention, control your attention, but then also have a criteria for what to pay attention to. That's key. And then having the critical thinking where you have criteria to say, other things that we're paying attention to, what things are relevant, what things do we know, have like what ways have we used this things we've observed, and what ways do we look at what's observed and say, these were previous mistakes that were made, or these are previous successes that were made. How can we pick those right things after that and think critically enough to say, what's going to apply to this scenario right now? How can we contextualize this information and make it applicable to what we're doing right this moment?
I mean, that's facts. I think. Once again, you took the smart man route, man. I'm sitting over here thinking like the dummy, and
it's helpful to have the understanding. I'm just saying this to say that helps me understand and helps me make more sense of this. When you want to explain it to somebody else, and you just give them a direct example, and just you point out, hey, it's cool to know that heat exists and that stoves are hot, but like that stove is hot. And if you touching that stove right now with your hand, it's going to burn you. You need to think critically enough to be able to discern that it's time to use a pan on top of the stove if you want to cook something.
And I mean, I definitely agree. And I think that's helpful. I think what it is that my mind is already in a place. So been playing around with this idea of contemplation versus entertainment. And my thing is this: on the base level of survival, do I have the luxury of contemplation? Can I perceive something? Have I dedicated enough? Have I been afforded enough time to contemplate, to train my brain to think about the possibilities that this thing could be? Or do I see the thing, think the thing, do the thing? Like, I'm at base level, I need to survive, I need food, I need shelter. Like, aren't concepts and reason luxuries of life? That's kind of what I'm thinking about. What do you think about that?
Short answer, no. Long answer is having the time to reflect is a luxury. Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. You are 100% correct on that. Concepts are the way human beings make meaning in the world, and therefore the things that guide our actions. And so if we want to live, like, they are a necessity.
Got it. True.
But there are higher and higher levels of there are more and more complex concepts that exist, and not everybody has to have all knowledge to subsist. It all depends what problems we're talking about, but a lot of things are solved with really, really lower levels of concept. If you could figure out that things grow from the ground, and that the things that you eat from the ground, you throw back in the ground and they keep growing from the ground, I'm like, that took like 3 or 4 steps. You can probably do that. You can probably stay alive. Or you can look around, you're like, hey, other animals eat animals and they stay alive. If I find an animal and I kill it and eat it, I can stay alive. I'm like, hey, monkey see, monkey do. That took like 2 or 3 steps. There are very low level concepts that are necessary for bare minimum survival. And so I don't want to pretend that everybody has to always be living in a self-reflective world for that to be the only way to live in a human way. So anyway, yes.
I mean, I think it's my point on this is just that the person that's in survival mode doesn't have the luxury to develop nuance. That's what I'm saying. That I need to act, and I need to act now because everything is crucial. And so I am using the framework, the whatever little framework that I have. We're not expanding this thing. We're just going to use it. Fire does fire things. House does house things. And so that's why for me, I'm just thinking about this. I get what you're saying, because to me, that's what I want to say. Like what you're saying is the observational skills and the critical thinking, if you have that luxury. But in crunch time, you don't have these luxuries. That's why to me, when as thoughtful as I like to think myself to be, in a crucial moment, I just cut it off. I see and do. There's no more, could this be that? It's just go. That's where I am. And there's a comfort in that too. But at the same time, I'm not developing any more thoughts, really. I'm not having a lot of nuance. It's just see and do. So,
and that makes complete sense. And that's exactly what makes, like, there has to be a priority list in the world. If you're going to live, there needs to be a list of priorities you're gonna address. And I think that's super helpful just to know going in. It's like, all right, everybody has a certain amount of time on Earth. You got to spend that time wisely. Gonna have to prioritize getting food, getting shelter, getting protection, and then having enough resources to, make a family, make a tribe, make some more babies, and then have them do the same thing. Like, we have to prioritize existence. Once we have that, then we can start talking about other things that we do with quote unquote free time.
Yeah, damn. It almost made me want to introduce the whole idea, but I guess I just give a tease. It's like, once you take care of your survival, either you're going to develop more, or you can contemplate, or you can just dedicate that to entertainment. And maybe they can be both at the same time, but like I don't know. I'll dig into that more later, another time.
Right. I mean, look, human beings have limits. One of the ways we deal with our limitations is by by engaging in recreation. And it's super helpful when recreation is a reward for us to do something productive. But it is also a danger that recreation could be used for a coping mechanism or used as a distraction. When we engage in more recreation than productivity, then we get that thing pear-shaped. Anyway, yes, bad choices.
Yeah. I'm gonna dig into that one though. I'm gonna come back with something a little more concrete. So oh man, I skipped the Scott. I went the wrong place. I guess I'll just run through the rest of these really quick, and because I made a mistake and skipped. So I went from the psychological, just saying that people may conflate and impose their rational framework on others, and then I skipped where I was supposed to hit the ethical piece, where it says overemphasizing reason might lead to intellectual arrogance. I can see that happening, and while overvaluing observations could result in a lack of deeper understanding or action.
Yeah. I mean, there's always been a problem between these false dichotomies of like the practical people and the conceptual people, the ones who are the empiricists, and what are the other ones I'm trying to think of?
Rationalists,
right? And yeah. I'm just like, this is a false dichotomy. Like you come to the other one, and you're like, these things are complementary and not interchangeable. We're not going to go over here and just say we need to only focus on the range of the moment and be present at all times and just kind of react to whatever. We don't need to only do that. We don't need to go over to the other side and just say, look at all these principles I have. I know a lot of abstract concepts and then just never apply them. I'm like, well, yeah, those are two mistakes that could be made and have been made.
Exactly. And I think at some point in time, it might be interesting to say which way they work, because I think they do have a definite path, but I think that might be a larger conversation than what this is. But I could put that on the list, really. And I mean, you just hit the next point. It just says, talk about the importance of recognizing limitations of each element and forming a balanced worldview. So that's because I think that the goal to me is to have a balanced worldview. However, one should dominate, because because of its limitations. Because you can't know all things, concepts should dominate. Because you can't know all things. You can't be objective about every single thing. You're going to have some context. And when I say concept should dominate, reason should dominate. The subjective factor should dominate because you have a life to it all ties into life again. You have a life to maintain, and the only way you can't maintain it worrying about other things that aren't about your life. You know what I'm saying? All the time. There's a priority here. So that's the whole point I'm trying to make.
I hear you. I wouldn't say one would dominate. I would say that they just have to work in concert. Like just like every plan is not done until you do it. Until you do the plan, it's not done yet. Like this, I'd say no plan survives contact with reality. I'm like, yeah. You need to, if you want to get better at something, you have to both plan out how you want to do it and then enact the plan and then go back and say, how well did the plan work? All right. Maybe it was a great plan. Maybe it was a terrible plan, but it ought to be evaluated with evidence instead of just mental models.
Well, see, I push back on that because I would say one dominates because one sits within the context of the other. Naturally, you can't. It's like I wish I had I might put a graphic in here because when I think about introversion versus extroversion, like some people look at the world like this, like this is a triangle and I'm sitting here, and so it's me, and then the things that I interact with, which fit within this area here. And the things that don't fit within that area, they exist, but they're not relevant, right? And then to me, I look at extroversion as a triangle out here, and this is me. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can fit into the world and not figuring out how the world fits within my view. And you can take the extroverted perspective, but then you're really tiring yourself out because you literally can't do these things. You can't do all things, right?
Right.
And so I would rather take the perspective that can actually be done. And because you're going to have a perspective at some point in time. And so you should develop it in some way and not have it be some unconscious thing that just pops up. But you can, if that's what you would like to pursue. But that to me is what shows you there's a natural issue here. You have to worry about your stuff. And then because when you don't worry about your stuff, then there is no more you. And we don't even have to worry about it. So I get the idea of, working in tandem. And one of them is working in tandem, but one has to sit within the other. So that's the only point that I push on that with.